I've been waiting for you.
So with the ending of Yu-Gi-Oh! The Dark Side Dimensions, it left a lot of thoughts in people's head on how did Atem return. I did a theory on it, but the fact is that it's just a theory, isn't 100% confirmed. But we're going to be talking about that topic as well, and I'm joined with my special guest. Please introduce yourself.
You're right, guys, Dimsy of Dimsy's Domain, and it's great. Let's talk about Atem. We're gonna find out if his return was effective, necessary, warranted, I guess.
Alright, so we did a video about this topic. It's very similar. It's to GX's ending as well, and how was Atem's return necessary in GX's ending, like towards the ending of that duel between Yugi and Judai. And we talk about how it sort of diminishes Yugi's character, etc. You guys can check that video out down below. But basic rundown of what happens in the ending of Dark Side Dimensions is that there's a duel between Cubic Aigami, Seto Kaiba, and Yugi Muto. Cubic Aigami comes back because the ring possesses him, and no, that's not Zork, it's the evil within the Millennium Ring. And Cubic Aigami comes back and all this shit's going on, and basically he's trying to create his perfect world, which is actually not perfect, rather it's just destroying the area around them. And Yugi and Kaiba team up for the first time in Yu-Gi-Oh! And what happens is that Kaiba sacrifices himself in order for Yugi to have a few more turns, and Yugi draws one card. He can't do it because it's very similar to the Pegasus duel where Yugi just couldn't handle that area, even though we can all say that Yugi's stronger than Atem mentally, physically, actually not physically, but just mentally as a duelist and overall as a character, except for the strength part. It's that he should have been able to handle it. That first of all,
the
that's
reason
my
why
first...
Yugi couldn't really handle it that much is because of the fact that due to the whole dimensional summoning aspect, he took a lot of damage and physically he was absolutely exhausted. It's very similar to when Marek was dueling Joey in the Battle City tournament, where Joey was absolutely exhausted and completely destroyed physically. So it was the same concept there, and Yugi just could not handle the strain on his body, and that's when we get the introduction of our good fella Atem.
Atem comes in the picture, and he draws his loyal servant Mahad and destroys Cubic Aigami without any dialogue, without any explanation on how he returns. And he basically one-shots Aigami and destroys the Millennium Cube. No, not the Millennium Cube, but the Millennium Ring. Was his return necessary? Well, my personal thoughts are no. I really don't think his return was necessary. I know the fact that Takahashi was trying to make Aigami sort of relate towards the original story by saying that, oh, he's related to Shadi. And in addition to that, if the Pharaoh returns to the real world, the Plana will lose their power. I just think that with Atem returning, it diminishes Yugi's character and the progression that he got in his film. Because when you look at Yugi, that one scene of him and Taya and Jinochi walking, and then Jinochi jumps off the bridge or something like that to save Aigami, and we get that flashback of Yugi and Atem, and Yugi's like, yeah, I miss him, but the fact is that I can't be thinking about him. I need to move on with my life. And he also says that to Kaiba. But next thing you know, 10 minutes later in the film, he comes back and he destroys Cubic Aigami. I just don't think that's good for Yugi's character. But do you want to elaborate on that, Dimsy?
No, the thing is, I think I disagree. I think it was very necessary, purely because of a few reasons. A very very simple reason. Firstly is nostalgia. This is Yu-Gi-Oh! The Dark Side of Dimensions. It is a movie which is focusing on the original characters of Yu-Gi-Oh! More than a decade after it aired on TV. So if you are going to do a movie which is straight up a nostalgia trip, is straight up a cash grab, because we are capitalizing on the audience who grew up with the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Not the ones who grew up or who are currently exposed for the first time to something like Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 or even 5 or even GX for that matter. It's the ones who remember vividly the memories of Atem, the memories of Yugi and Kaiba. So we had Yugi, we had Kaiba, we had Bakura, we had Shadi intertwined with this new story that is related to Aigami or Diva. The thing is, the only thing that was missing was the pure existence, the reintroduction, the entrance of the Pharaoh Atem. And with that, we got the nostalgia side, tick box, yes. Is that the best for storytelling? Maybe not.
I think for storytelling, it's horrible. Like, you guys know I'm a huge Atem fan, but put that aside. It's that, alright, we get no introduction of how, actually not even introduction, explaining on how he comes back. That's a huge flaw. And the fact is, I know the whole symbolism in Japan, whatever. He comes back and he doesn't even talk. That's the biggest tease on the planet.
Yeah.
and they sort of make up from that. They sort of make that up through the virtual Atem duel. But the fact is that we know it's virtual. It's a hologram. It doesn't mean that much when you really look at it.
I see, I agree. But the thing is, that's the nostalgia side of things. The second thing is, if you think about it, the main kind of idea throughout the movie was the revival of the pharaoh, how important the pharaoh is, how Kaiba is still obsessed. So he's been mentioned throughout the movie, and if you were to mention him without showing him, it kind of does devalue, because already, let me put it this way, if Atem never showed up, it was still shit all over Yugi's character, because of the fact that it kind of shows that Yugi is still nothing with the Atem, and although he came back and returned, it still kind of shows that Yugi's still nothing with the Atem. But then afterwards they have that once again, that acknowledgement. It's very similar to the aftermath of the ceremonial duel. Once again, it's a handing of the torch all over again. Although I agree, what you're gonna probably say is the fact that, hey, it's already been done, there's no need to do it again. But in terms of a movie, thematically, and just in terms of capitalizing on nostalgia, it was a smart idea for Atem to return. And even storyline wise, I think that it gave another layer, due to the fact that if Kaiba is going to sacrifice himself for Atem, at least make Atem make some sort of appearance to honor this sacrifice. And of course Kaiba did return and everyone was revived, but still, that's how it could be important, and that's why I think Atem really needed to enter the fray, and he was used properly.
I see your point. Of course it's the biggest cash grab. Atem is the biggest cash grab in all Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, you can't have a movie without him. I understand the whole nostalgia point, but put the nostalgia away. That's what I'm doing with this video right now. Putting the nostalgia away, putting the biasism away. Is that there's no answer or explanation to how he returns in addition to that. It just, as I said before, it just diminishes Yugi's character. And also, like, I would completely understand. I would be on your side if we did get an explanation. And yeah, also, the whole nostalgia grab, alright, this is kind of piss-taking, because, alright, he comes back into the real world, right? He saves them, he takes the Millennium Puzzle with them, and then 5 minutes later, Kaiba goes to Tim's dimension, or the afterlife, wherever he resides, and looks at him, and the film ends with him. There are basically two endings, in my personal opinion, for this film.
And with those two endings, it kind of gives a disconnect, and you think to yourself, you know what? If you never had the Atem appearance in the first place, and then you ended with Kaiba's little scene with Atem at the end, it would be a little bit more better. But I think that people did want to see Atem in action. But the problem was, I said it in my review, and I was extremely critical in my review, and I did get a lot of slack for this. But people, I don't know why they were angry, but they have to understand that we have to also look at this critically and not let nostalgia shade our views.
Yeah, but dude, I guarantee you it's hard for both of us to make a review without being biased, nostalgic, etc.
Yeah, I threw my nostalgia completely out the window because of the fact that
you give a pretty damn harsh rating, in my opinion.
I had to give a harsh rating because of the fact that, look, because I'm nostalgic about this, because I really do enjoy the series, I do not want them to misuse the characters which I grew up with, or the characters which I really do adore. So because of that, I said the scene at which Atem entered the fray and the way he was used, no, that was done not to my liking, in my opinion. I know you guys will have a different opinion. Please let me know in the comment section down below.
Comment that down below, because it's going to be quite interesting, because I want to hear a lot of people's opinion on this, and I think as well as you do as well.
Yeah, definitely. And it's just the fact that I think that if they done it a little bit more differently, it would be a no-brainer to the question of, was Atem used properly? People would be like, yeah, of course he was. But because of this scene, there is a bit of a question mark. But I'm gonna stick with, I think he was necessary. I believe that his role was somewhat good, but wasn't capitalized properly.
Yeah, I agree. But like, the fact is that this movie relied on him. Aigami's weakness was Atem. Kaiba's sort of
was Atem.
Yeah, obsession. His thing that rescued him as a character. Yugi was just, I don't need Atem. He thought about him as well, but each of these characters sort of their plot was based around Atem, and he was the main character of this film. I don't care what anyone says.
But
even though he wasn't present, he was the main character, or I should say, the better phrase I should say is the main story.
He's the glue that holds everything together, and that's the thing. I have no problem with that, because of the fact that, hey, if you are going to introduce this new character and you also want to aim and kind of tackle the nostalgia side of things, have this. So the way they utilize Atem in the storyline, in terms of how the motivations, the storyline, the plot, the reliance all ties in, I think that was fine. But to the question of, was it necessary? I'm going to say yes, and that's going to be my final answer.
I'm gonna say no. But you guys comment down below. Subscribe to Dimsy's Domain. Check out our playlist. Check out the Yu-Gi-Oh! Variants Facebook and Twitter fan page for the fastest news about Yu-Gi-Oh! Variants. And I was also, I think, one of the first people to drop the fact that Arc V's last episode is gonna be 148 on the Twitter fan page. So yeah, if you guys want fast news, check it out. Thank you and have a good day.